Young Justice Season 3 wrapped up the first half of its run this week with a whopping 4 brand new episodes. They were called Exceptional Human Beings, Another Freak, Nightmare Monkeys, and True Heroes. I'm Cape Joel, and I'm going to be taking a closer look at these episodes, give you my thoughts, and see what comic book Easter eggs I can catch. And with that, let's start with Episode 10. As we join the show, Batman alongside Katana and frickin' Metamorpho get ready to raid Santa Prisca to find out more information about the League of Shadows and their new leadership. Metamorpho, of course, comic fans will know as the last original member of the comic book Outsiders to appear on screen. Honestly, I'm surprised with Simon Stagg getting name dropped in a previous episode that he didn't end up getting a whole origin piece to himself, but that I'm reminded that he already had 2 other shows devote 2 other whole episodes to his origin, which is more than most characters get. The gimmick here is that this is a silent mission, which, is another great way to save money on lip flaps while also writing it into the script, so, no disrespect there. We discovered this episode that my early theories about who's running the Shadows was actually a little backwards. Deathstroke is now the leader of the Shadows as well as a chief member of the Light, while Lady Shiva is the new sensei training recruits while also being the Light's chief enforcer. In short, Slade got a promotion and Shiva got his old job. This is a bit of a departure from the comics wherein Deathstroke isn't really that much of a member of the League of Assassins. That's kind of a new idea they've started playing with. And now, along with his new job, he's also gotten a new costume, which I'm going to come out and say it, I do not love. I know some people weren't fans of the ponytail and European sword look with the mask with the one eye from season 2 of Young Justice, but hey, for my money, it was super original, unique, and you weren't going to see it anywhere else. This one is more in line with how Deathstroke looks pretty much everywhere else, but it just doesn't have the same panache. And hey, speaking of assassin training, and we were, Cassandra, Vandal's daughter, is a new student of the Shadows, and she befriended Terra while she was on the island. I get the feeling this character is going to become pretty important moving forward. Could she perhaps jump ship to the good guys team to try and stick it to her father? We see that Vandal's daughters don't exactly have a long shelf life. This, of course, all leads to a massive battle between the good guys and the bad guys, including a return from Danny Trejo as Bane. He too has gotten a redesign, and this is one I can get behind. We even see he's developed as a villain since last time we saw him. He's off the super steroids known as Venom and wants to beat Batman the old-fashioned way. It's a real action-packed finale and also a strong way to showcase what Metamorpho and Katana are capable of, and seeing as they get precious few lines this episode, they need all the chances they can get to get over with the audience. But hey, you're probably saying none of these characters are young or part of the Young Justice team. Well, I'm happy to say that Exceptional Human Beings also starts a brand new storyline that follows through all of these 4 episodes. You see, we get introduced to Victor Stone making his long-awaited Young Justice premiere. Victor and his father had got name-dropped in previous episodes, and now here the show wastes little time getting to know him very well. Much like his comic counterpart, Vic is a talented football player with a strained relationship with his scientist father, who is currently researching the evil alien father box for the Justice League, meaning that he misses out on his son's big game. Hey, let's take a quick diversion to talk about voice actors for a second, shall we? Victor Stone in this show is not voiced by Carrie Payton, the man whose voice is pretty much synonymous with the character. Not to say that Zeno Robinson does a bad job, it's just so strange to hear Cyborg's old voice all over this episode, but not actually coming out of Victor. It is pretty fun though that Payton does voice Silas Stone and basically just makes him sound like an older Cyborg anyway. This new origin takes a lot of reference from the New 52 comics and the Justice League War story in particular, but with some fresh new twists. Victor is in a lab accident after fighting with his father, a very brutal, very bloody, very shocking, almost too much so, I might add, accident, wherein the only way his life can be saved is if Dr. Stone uses the father box on him, which we saw was capable of healing parademons and other aliens in a past episode. Obviously, this has some very Frankenstein repercussions, and with the new wrinkle being it was a father box this time and not a mother box like in the comics, there is a new evil component to Cyborg in which he is forced to try and overcome through these 4 episodes, which I thought gave him a lot more to do and a lot more pathos moving forward. The Outsiders also underwent some major growth in this 4-episode pack, not only as heroes but as people too. They just can't hang around Superboy and Megan's house anymore, so they decide that they should be sent to school as a way to help Halo and Forger better integrate with society. Brion doesn't have to go, probably just another perk of being a fancy schmancy royal. This scenario leads to probably my favorite joke of the season so far, when Halo, to paraphrase, says, "Surely when we pull up to high school with the principal and the guidance counselor, everyone will love us." The high school experience also brings with it the introduction of some more new characters like Harper, another newer DC hero who I have been holding a torch for a very long time, so I was super excited to get to see her get the TV treatment. In fact, so are her original co-creators Scott Snyder and James Tynion, who, judging by their Twitter feeds today, they were as shocked as me, they didn't know. By the end of episode 11, we also get some very important information about the source of Halo's powers and how they now actually connect to Cyborg. You see, when Victor goes nuts, something that will be a trend across these 4 episodes, the father box stoking his anger at his own father, it's Halo who's actually summoned on in to make the save. And that is because Halo is actually the embodiment of a mother box, just as fans had theorized. She uses her healing powers to try and loosen Father Box's control on Vic, making them kinda spiritual siblings in a weird way. This also explains why she was able to interact with the new Genisphere in a way no other characters would. In a way, it's also kind of a bittersweet resolution too. We know now that Gabriel Dow is dead, but in her place is Violet, a character who is just starting to come into her own and a person who is ready to live life to its fullest, including perhaps an actual romance with her teammate Brion, who had his own lessons to learn this episode about letting go, learning to be patient, learning to be part of a team, all that good stuff. Now with that out of the way, we finally come to Nightmare Monkeys, and it might be the most creative episode of the season and certainly a contender for my own personal favorite. We hook back up with Garfield Logan, aka the Beast Boy, who has left the superhero life behind to try and chase stardom on a Star Trek-style TV show, complete with its very own William Shatner sound-alike. As we discover, Beast Boy is surrounded by a ton of characters you may or may not know. His Captain Kirk-style co-star actually worked with his mother on Hello Megan, and the WB-style network running things belongs to Granny Goodness, who seems to have gone to great lengths to reunite as many people from Gar's past as she can under one roof, including Gar's adoptive stepfather, Steve Dayton, aka Mento of the Doom Patrol. You see, after Gar's mom died, he was taken in by Miss Martian, but he was also adopted by his mom's best friend, Rita, aka Elastigirl, one of the Doom Patrol, aka Beast Boy / Changeling's original comic book team. All of this information gets told to the audience through an absolutely trippy scene wherein Beast Boy tries on the good VR goggles for the first time. It's all totally tragic and dark subject matter as we find out that his adopted mom and maybe even the rest of the Doom Patrol were killed on another mission, but it's done in the style of a giant Teen Titans Go parody, complete with all of that show's original voice actors. Teen Titans Go, you may or may not remember, had actually already parodied Young Justice during its time off the air, only, you know, this one works better because it's more creative, serves a point, is genuinely funny, and I actually feel like the writers had watched an episode of Teen Titans Go, so they knew what they were making fun of, but you know, now I'm off point. And if all of that wasn't enough love for you Doom Patrol fans, well, guess what? Casey and Samuel from the new Young Animal book actually show up here for a few seconds, so keep an eye open for that. Another wonderful thing this episode tries to do is actually square the circle involving the source of Beast Boy's power. Sure, here in this universe it says that he got a blood transfusion from Miss Martian, but what about the monkey bite from the comics? Well, that gets its due here in this episode. In the end, Gar is forced to take an inward journey and face the sadness over the death of his mothers, the death of Wally, and how he pretty much betrayed his sister Megan to try and chase a life of fame, if only it meant that he didn't have to deal with his own personal trauma. This ultimately helps the team leading into the final episode, as they now know for sure Granny Goodness is up to no good, using the goggles to test kids for latent metagenes, which means Nightwing's Black Ops superhero team and the League are ready to hit as many metahuman depots as they can in one night, including one in Bialia, where they believe that Princess Terra is being held. Halo is forced to hang back on this mission and to make sure Cyborg doesn't go all Skynet on everybody, and we see just how much emotions and puberty can really play havoc with superpowers, another major ongoing theme of this season and especially these last 4 episodes. Now when the heroes do manage to zero in on this meta ring, they discover that it's more than just that. It's a whole metahuman coliseum run by Mr. Nice, a former Starman villain later reimagined as a villain for the Digital Flash comic, and probably the deepest cut this show has ever done for a villain so far. None Nice is also backed up by Queen Bee's personal metahuman army, here called the Onslaught, a reference to a team of superpowered terrorists created by John Ostrander in the pages of Suicide Squad. The matches are also spectated on by the friggin' Court of Owls. Wow, they don't get named in this episode, but that's clearly who they are. The good guys have to work together and overcome this group of villains while also saving all the enslaved kids. We get some great matchups and even some fun callbacks to earlier seasons and the long-standing relationship between Superboy and Icicle Jr., whose new design I most definitely approve of. I dig the beard, it's kind of like mine. Ultimately though, it's Brion and his sister working side by side that allow the team to escape, showing just how much they've all grown in a short amount of time and how they might just be ready to get promoted to that next level of superhero-dom. Granted, the question still remains now that Terra is in the mix. You have to wonder what role is she going to play, especially considering that her most famous story involved her trying to destroy a superhero team from the inside out. Maybe she's less a princess in distress and more of a Judas in disguise. And so there you have it, everyone, the first half of Young Justice Season 3, and I gotta say, this week was a really good mix of superheroic action and teenage drama. We get a nice new origin for Cyborg that fits well with the lore of the show and promises that he will be very important moving forward. We get Beast Boy back in a very big, very meaningful way in an episode that I think will go down as one of the best of the series. The Outsiders continue to grow and evolve and come into their own, just as the original Young Justice cast come into their own as teachers and mentors. The show also picks a hell of a cliffhanger and promises many more stories to come, probably with new characters too, like Cisco Ramon, Harper Row, and who even knows, so we got a lot to look forward to. And with that, everyone, I will see you again when the show comes back, but in the meantime, be sure to subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter so you never miss a video. Until then, I've been Cape Joel, bye bye.